Hello, this is Mike from the Watford podcast from the Rookery end, and I've got a few thoughts ahead of Palace's inevitable win at Vicarage Road on Boxing Day. I think Walter's done, generally speaking, a good job. Watford are sat in 12th place, so it'd be a bit churlish of me to complain too much, but I think we've lost 5 out of the last 7, a record which is probably sound relatively familiar to you guys, unfortunately. So I think he had a good start to the season. Most supporters were happy with the way he began. He showed that he could change things in a game. He wasn't afraid to change formation. He wasn't afraid to change the team, something that his predecessor, Quique Sanchez-Flores, wasn't necessarily quite as good at. So to start with, I think most people were pretty happy with him, and still are, really, to be fair. Just because we've hit a blip, I think it's not fair to turn on him that quickly. But questions have been asked about discipline at Watford. We're top of the league table, or bottom of it, whichever way you want to look at it, for yellow and red cards. I don't think any team has had more yellow cards for dissent than Watford, which is a bit disappointing. So I wonder if there's a disciplinary issue there, which is odd because he came to Watford with a reputation for being very strict on the discipline front. And also there's been a lot of injuries. Now, whether that's down to the training or we've just been unlucky, I don't know. But there's a few people starting to ask a few questions about maybe the regime as a whole. But 12th place, we've had some really good performances. We beat West Ham 4-2 away, which was good fun. We battered Man United at home, which is always good. So Crystal Palace is going to be a big game for us, and I think it may well define certainly the Christmas period, and it'll go a long way to showing what we're capable of and how the season's going to pan out. But I think it's a tentative, so far so good for Matsari. Palace have just sacked Alan Pardew, congratulations, well done. Watford have got a record, I know, for high turnover of managers. A lot of people say that it seems to have worked for us, but I don't think it's necessarily a tactic just to have a high turnover of managers. I think the Gino Pozzo, the owner, and Scott Duxbury, the CEO, they're looking at a very fluid approach to how they move Watford forward. And I think they know they need to keep moving forward. Staying still isn't really what they want to be doing at this stage of the game. They always want to be moving forwards, progressing. So if they feel that things aren't progressing quickly enough, they will act. They're very decisive. They're very swift. They trust themselves. They back their own judgment. It's not a tactic. I wouldn't suggest that any other club should think, right, let's just get rid of managers on a regular basis because it worked at Watford. It's just the way it's been, and I think if they had a chance to keep a manager or head coach, should I say, for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, then they absolutely would. But by the same token, if things aren't working out, they're going to act, and I think I'm all for it. My hopes for the season haven't really changed since the season began, and that's to stay in the division. A second season as a Premier League side is always going to be tough. We don't want to lose sight of what the ambition of the football club is, which is to be established in the Premier League, to move up the division and to make it easier to attract good players and progress like that. So, but the first step really is definitely staying in the division, especially with the new managers, some new players coming in. It's funny, isn't it? I'm sure you guys have had it when you have a run of good results. Everyone's talking about the Europa League or Europe, and you have a run of bad results, and all of a sudden it's doom and gloom relegation. So where we are at the moment, bit of mid-table mediocrity will do us just fine, and then we'll look to kick on and build a bit next year. To be honest, not many of them have really cut the mustard. Doucouré was one that I was looking forward to seeing, a midfielder. He's 23 years old, he's French. We signed him from Rennes and then went on loan to Granada, where he got absolutely rave reviews, and he joined us in the summer. But he's played the sum total of 7 minutes of Premier League football this year, so he hasn't cut the mustard. At the other end of the spectrum, we bought Roberto Pereira from Juventus to provide a bit of much-needed creativity in the midfield. He's done okay. He scored a great goal against Leicester. Check that one out on YouTube. That was good, and he's turned in some decent performances. But then against Man City, he's got injured. It's a really severe injury, and reports have got it from anywhere from 3 months all the way to the end of the season. So I would say he was the standout bit of business in the summer. But now we've lost him, so it's going to be an interesting transfer window for Watford. It's not who I think could hurt Watford, it's who I know can and will. And it's Wilf. Every time he causes us difficulties. We've got a couple of defenders who like a rash challenge. They like leaving the ground or poking their foot in when they know they really shouldn't. And if there's someone who's going to exploit that, and rightly so, it's Zaha. When he's on his game, you guys know as well as anyone, he's a decent player. He's absolutely unplayable, and he usually turns in a decent performance. I think his eyes light up whenever he sees the defenders in yellow. He always seems to have a good game against us. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's the one that will sort of be watching behind our hands, if you like. Not Wilf again. Score prediction. Well, my son's done it on FIFA this morning, and he had a very entertaining 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be cagey, isn't it? Both teams need to win, really. Watford are at home, so the pressure's on them. Crystal Palace will be wanting to impress the new manager. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky afternoon. If Pardew was still in charge, I might have just gone for a Watford win, but do you know what? I think Palace are going to nick it. And it could be, I think it might be 1-0 Palace or 2-1 Palace. Yeah, Merry Christmas, eh? Enjoy!